friends, Christy Tagey here, your host for the Productive Passions podcast. Let me ask you, is there something different you dream of doing but don't know where to begin? If you're feeling suffocated, anxious, or you feel there's something different calling you, come along with me for candid conversations with people who have embarked on a journey to put their passions to work for them. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Life is too short to stay stuck. Welcome to a very special edition of our podcast. Today, I am deeply honored to share the stories of two remarkable individuals who have profoundly impacted my life. My grandparents, Jim and Marie, affectionately known as Mom and Dad Bartholomew. In this episode, you'll hear treasured clips from an interview I conducted with them years ago. Inspired by StoryCorps, whose mission is to illuminate the humanity and possibility in us all, one story at a time, I rented a studio during their annual visit from North Carolina to Florida. What was meant to be a 1-hour session turned into over 2 hours of laughter, storytelling, and the simple joy of being together. Our family is large and tightly knit, with over 100 members, 155 to be precise, all tracing back to these incredible grandparents. Their love and values shaped me, and their legacy continues to unite us. My grandparents' home in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina was a summer paradise where we played on the land, picked blueberries, swam in the rivers, and danced on a cornmeal-covered Main Street to live mountain music. Growing up in this close-knit family, I felt invincible, knowing so many people loved and supported me. Even though we are now more spread out, the bond remains strong. Our family's diversity and dedication to one another taught us that kindness, hard work, and respect are paramount. As I prepared this episode, I found myself in tears, reflecting on the deep love and friendship I shared with my grandparents. Their voices still resonate with me, especially my grandmother's, and her delight in nature. Although they have passed, their legacy of love and joy lives on. At the time of this interview, our family began to worry about Mom and Dad's safety. They were well into their 80s, and navigating the mountain roads in and out of town was becoming increasingly challenging for them. As you listen, you might notice Dad struggling to find words, a difficulty that progressed until he was eventually nonverbal. Mom became more forgetful and often worried she was repeating herself. In their later years, my desire to shield them from anxiety grew stronger. I wanted to hold them close and provide love and support as they had always done for me. This recording is deeply precious to me as it encapsulates the bond we shared. To this day, our relationship remains one of the most treasured parts of my life. Friends, I invite you to meet Mom and Dad.
Let me just tell you the first thing. We were having a hi-fi dance, which is the girls invited the boys once a year, to this dance. And I had gone with my mother several times to the meat market where Jim worked. And he always would carry our groceries out and stuff. My mom says, he likes you. I said, oh, go on. But it kind of stuck with me. So I had to invite somebody. So I called him and I said something to the effect that, would he like to go to this dance? And he said, who is this? And I said, well, first tell me, has anybody asked you to go? I wouldn't tell him. I was too shy to tell him who I was unless I knew. I mean, I didn't want to get turned down. Yeah. That would be an awful thing. And so he said, well, I guess, I don't know, something to that effect. And when I told him it was Marie McMahon, oh, yes, he would be delighted to. So that was our first date. And that's how we first started going out. That was the first
time.
Yeah.
Dad, tell us how you proposed to Mom.
Well, I was at the naval base in Geneva, New York, and Mom was at school, college.
Cortland State Teachers College.
Yeah. She'll help me with those names. Anyhow, I used to hitchhike down on weekends. I'd get off Saturday at noon. I'd get down and spend the weekend with her and then hitchhike back.
Sometimes he'd bring another sailor, too.
Oh, yeah.
For any of your friends that might need one?
Because all the boys were gone, to war. There was nobody there.
Yeah. So what was the question?
How you proposed to her.
Oh.
So you must have hitchhiked.
No. Well, yeah, I hitchhiked. And it was spring, I guess, or summer of the year, or first year. It was nice and warm anyhow. And we were out walking because we couldn't afford anything else. we're walking, and we'd walk by this beautiful brick house. It was a maroon brick with black mortar, and just looked lovely. And I said to her one day I'm going to build you a house like that after we get married. And she didn't say no, so I figured, hey.
So it had to have been a yes, huh?
Yeah.
So when did you give her the ring?
That's funny. We were at her folks' house, and my mom and dad were there also. And I just walked over. She was working at the sink or something, and reached in my pocket and brought out and gave me her hand.
His mother was responsible for buying the ring, or his parents, because we didn't have anything. And so they brought him up there we were, all in the kitchen, dishes and everything.
And she's doing dishes.
And he poses to me in front of everybody.
Aww. And so how did you respond? Were you embarrassed?
Well, sure, but...
She gave me a nice big kiss.
Aww.
Yeah.
So that was a yes, too?
Yeah.
That was a yes.
Yeah.
That worked out pretty good. It wasn't very romantic. I didn't get down on my knees or anything like that.
But it seems to have worked well for you.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a caller. Let me answer this call. Hello?
Hi.
Hey, you're live on the air with Mom and Dad.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Mom and Dad. How are you?
Good, honey. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of what reminded me of you guys. There's a number of things, but one thing is I'd like Mom to sing This Is the Day that the
Oh,
Lord has made, the way she sang it to me and many others on birthdays, on wedding days. That's a good memory.
okay. So this is the day because we're celebrating Mom and Dad. You want to help?
That's right.
How do you feel about that, Mom?
Well, let's see. I'm not too good at singing anymore.
Well, Mom, wait a minute. What's
This
the one
is
thing?
the day.
There you go.
This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made.
You know, one of the things I remember you telling me, Mom, is, you know what? The Lord gave me the voice that He gave me, and He can change it at any time. He said, make a joyful noise, not necessarily a good noise. When you were little, what did you want to be?
A pilot.
I don't think any of us would be surprised.
I thought I was going to be a teacher. Of course, all our family's teachers here, sort of. But that's what I went to school for, to Cortland. And then I decided to teach my own class, I guess.
I was going to say, I think you ended up doing a lot of teaching, not just with your own kids, but in volunteering.
Yes, I only went to school
yes.
to Cortland for 2.5 years, and then when that quarter ended,
I talked her into marrying me. I taught at the local college.
Mm-hmm. What were you teaching?
CAD,
Which is?
computer-aided design.
You know, speaking from experience, I hadn't planned to talk about this at all, but speaking from experience, it is nice to have somebody that you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
And in my lives, from my pregnancy when I was very young to everything else that I went through, you guys always been there with an unconditional love.
That's right.
That I don't know how I would have made it through a pregnancy
Come
at
on,
16.
now you're going to make me cry.
Well, you guys have been there for me through everything, through some really hard times. And I don't know how I would do it without you guys, ever.
Well, we loved you, and we love you now.
It looks like we have another caller. Hello, welcome to the Mom and Dad Bartholomew Show.
And I really...
Wait. Say that again. Say that again.
I said, hi, my name is Gina. I've been a listener for almost 43 years, and I really, really love your show.
Well, Gina, thank you for calling in. Do you have a question for Mom and Dad?
I do. My question is, what is the attribute or quality that you most admired in your parents?
In our parents?
In your parents.
Yeah, in Mom and Dad's parents.
Oh, well, they loved each other so much. My parents did, and I never thought of anything that they did, but that they would be devoted to each other. And they loved us. I guess they were just a good example of what we should be, I guess. Not that we ever thought it that way, but it just evolved that way. My dad.
Oh, yeah. Dad McMahon was, he actually taught me how to be a man.
Really?
Yeah, he was gentle and firm at the same time.
I can also remember chasing chickens with Nick and
Oh,
other
gosh.
cousins, and we all had our own chickens, and I remember reaching under them, and they were warm, and pulling out the eggs, and, all kinds of
good
things.
memories that you have of living on the farm, so to speak.
Actually, really good memories. And yesterday,
Because you were little.
we were little, and we also talked about, remember the big play we put on?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. That when you were building your house, Kathy's house.
We probably needed something to keep us occupied.
Yeah, you did it at school, didn't you? You did it first.
No, I had a pile of lumber in the
I
pasture.
remember that.
Yes, you did. They sang these Coleman West in a covered wagon. I just went over that trail to go up to where the sisters are. We drove up over the whatever the trail was
I'm
called.
trying to sing it in my head to think about what it was.
Yeah.
But for years, up until, again, just recently, probably about the same 10, 15 years ago, Amy, your daughter, and I were singing the song.
Yeah.
And we got to it. She said, "What did you say?" And
Cumberland
I said,
Trail.
The Cumberland Trail. And I said, "What do you mean what I say? I'm singing the song." And she said, What was that line you say?" And I said, "Spider's the danger." Well, nobody ever told me I was singing it wrong, and I didn't know. I thought that's what it was. And she said, "Christy, it's in spite of the danger."
Spiders.
So I was like 30 years old and still singing "Spider's the danger." Made sense to me, It could be a black widow.
That's cute. Yeah, that's true.
What are some of your fears or frustrations about aging?
About aging?
We don't have any fears.
Well,
We just were busy doing it.
I don't think we have a fear of aging.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. This is the way we're going to go. It was going to be a bad year. This is a bad year. It's a good thing we're down here.
Yeah, today's the last day.
And there's going to be a big snowstorm. And we're going to decide to go to somebody's house, not be alone. And we're going to get in our car. I read somebody did this. And go for a ride and get stuck in the snow. And we fall asleep because we can't move. And that's it.
And you die of carbon monoxide poisoning.
I guess. I don't know.
Do you remember what you used to tell me, what your plan was? It used to be in an airplane.
Yeah.
You were just going to get an airplane and
Fly
off into the sunset.
Well, that happened.
That's why nobody will let you in a plane again, Dad. We did have another question about planes. My mom wanted you to talk about when you started going to airports.
When did you first start to walk?
I started going to the airport when I was 13.
And when were you going to the airport? Where were you supposed to be?
No, that's not a fair question.
It is a fair question, and I would ask.
I got the truant officer so educated in my daily schedule and habit.
My father had died when I was still up there.
Yeah.
He just dropped dead at the golf course, and I was just coming home from someplace.
I remember her phone call.
We went down to my mother's, which was in Binghamton. It was a little ways, and we all had to wait. We were waiting for her to come home because she was out shopping. And this was on the radio because my father was a well-known doctor, and they had announced this on the news.
Was a news break on the.
And
excuse me, on
I don't let her
his
hear
death
it
on
when
the
she's out.
golf
Oh
course.
my gosh!
And so when she came,
So is that how you guys heard about it?
no,
Was it on the news?
No, I don't know who called me.
Pat.
And
Pat was playing golf.
Yeah,
with his
Pat
dad.
was the golf.
Your brother Pat.
Mm-hmm. And so I rushed right up there, and Mother wasn't home yet.
Okay.
And when she came home, and we were all standing there, and
But-
hi, what's the matter? What's wrong? Right away, she knew something was
Yeah.
wrong. And of course, that was what we had to tell her. That was a hard time.
Yeah.
And he was only 60 years old. 60 years old. That's your mother's older than that.
It's too young.
That's too young.
What I have to brag on my kids mostly is if one of them's in trouble, they're all in trouble. And they don't always agree among themselves. But don't get between one or other, because you got to fight them all.
Yeah.
I think these modern TV or phones, the little ones that
Cell
connect
phones.
Like this.
Yeah, I have meant an awful lot to our kids. They all are in contact because of that more.
They're worried about our health and our mental thing, and are we capable of going up and down stairs, and all that. And I know that they're not doing it for spite or anything. They're doing it out of love.
That period of time where I thought I had lost you was the most horrendous period of my life.
And you know that when you face that, it still is. And when your own dad or your own mom or anybody else goes, it'll be, it's that way. But
it was devastating. It was devastating.
Mom made, she made all the kids' clothes.
Wait a minute. Before you say it, does this have anything to do with cute little yellow prickly dresses?
yes.
Yes.
Carry on.
Who is that?
Janet.
Let me tell you that our girls never had a store-bought dress until they got to their graduation at high school.
Oh, they did sooner than that when you took them that time and they bought dresses.
Yeah, I took them and they conned their old dad because they each came up with 2 dresses. And they said, I don't know which one of these I like the best. They had to. I said, okay, let's take them all.
Well, tell me about the prickly dresses.
Well, I made little, they were organdy.
Yes.
How organdy is. And I made them for the 3 of them. And we went up to Santa Claus Land or someplace. We took them up to Santa Claus Land. And they had to wear those little dresses.
Yeah, and we took them to dinner.
They were.
And the place was pretty well packed, but I called and made a reservation. So Mom went in, and here come these 3 little ducklings right behind her. And the place just shut down. Everybody just stopped and looked. And here are these 3 little darlings
They were just
following Mama Duck.
Well, it's funny because Janet emailed and said, be sure they tell you about how cute we were in our yellow prickly dresses. And then my mom said, we were so cute in these prickly yellow dresses. And they just itched and itched.
True, that's true.
They were.
But they knew they were very cute.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable, but cute. Even though you have 8 kids, why hundreds of people call you mom and dad. As their son and being young, I was never jealous of this, but rather proud that so many people wanted to be so close to my mom and dad. I always felt the fact that so many people called them mom and dad showed how close and important people felt to them.
Isn't that nice?
How sweet. Oh, brings tears to
He loves the story of your first months of marriage, the apartment, the pet mouse Mickey, and the first car. What was the car called?
Look
at her shine.
It was a little old car, and he would polish it. So, yeah. Well, we lived in Florida when we were first married.
I was still in the Navy.
Yeah, and we lived in a couple of places, but we finally lived in this nice little apartment house upstairs. And we had very dear friends that lived next door. They became dear friends. And this old mouse came in one day. And it came in, and we had this little, it wasn't our furniture, it was all furnished. We didn't have any furniture. And there's a little wicker desk in the living room. And it would come right in on sit at that little, underneath that little desk, It's a mouse in our house. What are we going to do? So I don't know what you said, but anyhow, I guess we set a trap or something. But anyhow, it was in my cupboard. And I knew it was there, and I couldn't. I wasn't going to whack it. Crying out loud. So I took a little box that I had, and I put it up to
a matchbox.
A little box, and the mouse ran into it, and I closed it. and took it downstairs. And I let it go. It never came back.
She told me about this, and I laughed at her. And that evening, we were sitting in our spacious living room, about this big, and this little twerp of a mouse come right back in there, set up, and look at it. Here I am.
Follow your God, and always take care of your siblings, your family. They're most important.
Yeah.
We always talk. That's one thing that I would say that love is very important.
Sometimes
communicating the love is the key to having it be wonderful.
Mom was just saying sometimes you guys bicker, as all married couples do. So what about that? What about when you bicker and are frustrated with each other? What brings you back?
I put my arms around her and give her a hug.
Jim does it.
Well, and a long time ago, we agreed to two things. We were, I think it was right after Terry was born, my dad and I had horses, and we had a guy took care of the horses for us, and his son was all right, but we got to know each other, and we were invited to their house for dinner, and all they did after the meal was pick on each other and make and say things that would embarrass each other. And Mom and I got in the car and we left pretty soon after dinner was over. And on the way home, we made a deal. We would never, ever do that in public. If we had anything to say, we would say it to each other by ourselves. You don't need an audience for if you don't agree with what is being said or being done or proposed or whatever. But that was the one thing.
That really struck you, huh?
And we would never, ever go to bed mad at each other.
I just wanted to tell you guys, kind of wrapping up, I wanted to ask you, do you guys even comprehend the impact that you've had on so many people? I don't mean just us, your family, but in your community, through church, through volunteer work, through just your regular work, and in every way that you've lived your lives. And I don't expect either one of you to agree with that statement because you're too humble to agree with it. But,
no, we're not.
But, so let me tell you the impact that you have in our lives. And I can say that objectively because I've been one of the recipients for many, many years. And lots of people hear stories about my grandparents and they tell me how lucky I am to still have my grandparents. And I have to tell them they don't need to remind me because I know. And so does the rest of the family. And I wish I could convey more eloquently how much you guys mean to us and how important you are in our lives. And that it sucks that we're the ones that are far away from you guys because otherwise we would be there more. But you need to know that. And like I said, I know you guys are too humbled to agree with that, but you guys certainly need to know how much the two of you mean to us, the example that you are to us, the mentor that you've been to us. I speak for myself, but I don't just speak for me. I speak for the entire family.
Do you know why it is? We love you. We do?
Yeah.
We love all of you.
And you know what? We know it.
Good.
That's the whole thing.
That's good.
I think, one of the nicest things that ever happened to me with our family is when one day you said to me, I know you got a lot of grandchildren, but you love me the most. And I heard that from two other grandchildren. And I thought, who the hell needs to get a payment for anything any greater than that?
And you know what the neat thing is? We all think that.
Yeah.
We all think we're the favorite. And that's it.
Well,
But they are favorite.
That's right.
They are our favorite.
We know
All
that
of
we
them.
are, and we
Every
know,
one.
and we say that. I say that I say that jokingly, but half jokingly because we know
It's
we
true.
know how important you are, and
you
we
are
know
too.
how important we are to you, and
That's right.
that is such a incredible feeling. It's a secure feeling, and I'll tell you, I've drawn on that as I've been an adult. In times that are stressful, one of the things that I've done with patients is think about where your favorite place in the whole world is. You know where that is for me? Right there in North Carolina, right at your house.
Oh, bless your heart. You're such a sweetheart.
I love you guys dearly, and thank you for spending this much time with me. It's been quite a blessing. I love you guys very much.
Thank you. And we love you and all of the
Yes.
wonderful family that we have. We
and I
love
want
them
to
all.
show you something.
Let me see. Dad's getting out his cell phone. He's got to wait till it powers on. That was the music from heaven.
What are you doing?
Oh, one of the things that is the neatest
Number
thing.
one.
Dad will sometimes call me out of the blue. Not all the time, but in the middle of my day at work, I see Dad on my phone. There's never a time that I'm too busy to take it. And it's just to say hi.
As we close this episode, I hope today's message inspires you to cherish those who have shaped you. It's equally important to reflect on how we spend time with and support our aging friends and family, especially when life can become lonely for them. I'll ask one thing of each of you. Set aside time, really schedule it, to call someone you know who is aging and may be lonely. I'd love to hear from you. How was this time for you? Mom and Dad, you don't need me to tell you I love you, but I will anyway. I'm a grandmother now, and my biggest goal is to be for my grandchildren what you were and always will be to me. My biggest fans, my cheering section, the two people who love me unconditionally, and the ones I always want to make proud. I miss you, and I love you so very much.